All right, people. I'm sure by now you all would have heard of this news story, which is grabbing international headlines. Australia's most decorated, celebrated war hero, Ben Roberts-Smith, has been charged with war crimes and has been taken into custody. And as is often the case in this day and age, the right picks a side, the left picks a side, and all of us are forced to pick a side. Let me first of all tell you who I am. I have always identified myself as a classical liberal, a big staunch believer of Western values like secularism, democracy, free speech. But the Overton window has shifted so much in the last few decades that I am, by the so-called progressives or the lefties, considered a far-right person. Back in my time, far-right was supposed to be someone who is a skinhead, someone who wants to racially purify his country. That's what my understanding of a far-right person would be. But we don't live in that world anymore. So I have something to say on this case because I've been following it for a very long time. I just haven't gotten around to speaking about it because it was a dead issue until recently when Ben Roberts-Smith was arrested and charged for war crimes. Most people on my side, or most people who listen to me, are saying that this is a travesty of justice, this is a witch hunt, and we shouldn't be persecuting our war heroes like that. I am generally of that view that police, soldiers, they should not be judged by the same standards as we judge ordinary people, because these people operate in high pressure, life and death situations all the time. A bureaucrat, a pencil pusher sitting on his desk, it's easy for him to say, oh, we should not kill anyone without a strong reason. Yeah, well, when you're in a life and death situation, someone is pointing a gun at you, or you don't know whether he's got a concealed gun in his hand, and you have that split-second decision to make to either draw your weapon or possibly get shot and never go home. So a bureaucrat sitting on his desk is never going to understand that. So I am generally of the view that our soldiers, frontline police officers, they should not be judged by the same standard that we judge ordinary people like you and me. I have never been in a situation where a gun was pointed at me or I was in a life and death situation. Maybe a little bit, nothing close to that. But soldiers and police officers go through that fairly regularly. We have seen in the UK, Keir Starmer has been harassing former war heroes, something like this. Have a look at this. Keir Starmer should apologize to veterans over his role as a barrister in reshaping the law governing troops in war zones, Kemi Badenoch has said. The Prime Minister worked free of charge in 2007 on a human rights claim that led to fresh inquiries into deaths in Iraq and hundreds of soldiers facing criminal investigations, according to a report by The Telegraph, which Downing Street said contained flagrant inaccuracies. Because this was done with virtue signaling in mind, with self-righteousness in mind. This is these people drowning in the sea of their self-righteousness that, hey, we are different, we are better. If an innocent Iraqi has been killed, even by mistake, we're going to drag you to hell. That's what Keir Starmer was doing with a lot of British soldiers. A lot of these soldiers were actually exonerated. They were found not guilty. And then he went after them again. So I am definitely against that, okay? But Ben Roberts' case is a little bit different. First of all, let me show you some of the people from our circle. What are they saying? This is Drew Pavlou. I like him a lot. He's a good guy. He's a young man. So let me read what he's saying. Drew is saying the Australian government just arrested our most decorated veteran from the Afghanistan war for alleged war crimes. Ben Roberts-Smith was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest military award for Australia, after single-handedly storming 2 Taliban machine gun positions by himself in order to save his own SAS team. Definitely something that is worthy of recognition, and it was recognized. That's why he was given the Victoria Cross. And this is how we repay him. So Drew goes from that to this. I spoke to an Australian Afghan war veteran who told me that the Australian government literally paid for billboards in Afghanistan, offering to pay random Afghans to come forward with war crime allegations. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're telling lies. What country on earth would do this to itself? A country, Drew, that takes pride in itself for not being a barbarian. The Taliban shoot people in the head. The Taliban don't keep their word. Australia is a civilized country. We don't torture people. We don't execute people extrajudicially. We don't use people as target practice. These are some of the allegations against Ben Robert Smith, not by Afghans only, but by his fellow Australian soldiers.
Shepparton in country Victoria is a very long way from the barren and hostile mountains of Afghanistan. Dusty Miller is one of 26,000 Australians who served in the ill-fated war there. And like so many veterans, he's still tormented by what he witnessed.
It's just ruined our lives. If you were a bad guy out there and you attacked us, you were the enemy, I don't lose a minute of sleep over, anything we did. However, the collateral damage was so unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary.
Dusty was a medic with the SAS who served alongside the best of the best. But in Afghanistan, he witnessed the very worst of human behaviour from some of his comrades. In 2012, he treated an Afghan farmer who had a gunshot wound to his leg, shot during an SAS raid. But the father of 7 was taken from his care by a senior soldier, only to be executed.
Those lives that were lost, I believe they were lost just to get kill rates up and egos raised. As simple as that. I don't see any other reason for it. It certainly wasn't. To combat the war on terror, mate. Just egos.
Dusty struggled mentally in the aftermath of the killing, but gained strength when he broke the SAS code of silence. He was never in the sphere of Ben Robert Smith, but became an outspoken critic of Australian war crimes and was one of a number of soldiers who gave evidence to the Brereton inquiry.
I soon realised if we don't speak up, if we don't tell the truth, this stuff could get thrown, it could get swept under the carpet quite easily. In the end, I just no, the truth's got to get out there now. It's going to kill us. And so a result like this is actually, that's the pure vindication of it all. It's like, yeah, you know what? Somebody else believes us and goes, you know what? Yeah, these things did happen over there. We know they happened. We know they happened. We lived it. We're still living it, unfortunately.
Tell me, when does the Taliban plan on holding war crimes tribunal? Drew, that's the whole point. We are not the Taliban. We are better than them. When do the Taliban plan on holding themselves accountable for terrorism? They won't. That's why we don't recognize them. We don't see them as our equals. Absolutely retarded to purge our own men when fighting a brutal, barbaric enemy that respects no rules whatsoever. We are a cucked nation, free Ben Robert Smith. So that's Drew's take. A popular take, probably. Pauline Hanson has commented on that too, but I'm going to play you a video and I want you to be the judge. This is 60 Minutes Australia. Just put away your biases aside for mainstream media, just for a moment, and have a listen.
The shame brought upon the entire country by a few bad men from our military's special forces is a brutal truth Australians now have no choice but to handle.
The key investigative journalist behind this expose, his name is Nick McKenzie. He works for The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald, very respectable newspapers. Nick McKenzie is no woke. He's not Owen Jones or Mahdi Hassan or that kind of crap. He's no woke. He's a good investigative journalist. And the other guy was, I think his name was Chris Masters. So these guys are not wokes, okay? There is no woke agenda in this. This is simple, pure self-reflection of who we are as a country. We are no barbarians. We are not the Taliban. We are not the IRGC.
Thursday, the findings of a 4-year-long Defence Force inquiry into the war in Afghanistan were released. The report detailed shocking crimes, including murders allegedly committed by men who were supposed to be our best trained, most elite soldiers.
Sorry, I want to interrupt you again, but it is important to understand that these are not the findings of Nick McKenzie or Chris Masters. It's the Australian Army's own investigation. And this video is about 4 years old, by the way.
Staggering is the scale of the wrongdoing. 39 potentially unlawful deaths, including Afghan civilians and children. Nick McKenzie has been at the forefront of the reporting of this story for 3 years, and tonight asks how far up the chain of command should responsibility for this disaster rest.
When the rumours were first raised with me late in 2015, I had the sense that there was something here, but I never expected to read some of the material that I have reviewed over the last 2 weeks.
This is not some woke journalist. I am the biggest enemy of wokeism and self-righteousness and virtue signaling. My entire career is built around that. This is different.
When the long-awaited report into war crimes in Afghanistan was finally made public this week, the detail was far worse than even the Chief of the Defence Force was anticipating.
The unlawful killing of civilians and prisoners is never acceptable.
There's no doubt it's a terrible stain on our nation's history. But the report is also validation for the brave men and women who fought for years to bring this dark chapter to light.
These guys are also Aussie soldiers, okay? If you don't want to take the word of a woke politician or a woke journalist, these guys are also our soldiers. Some people are saying that it's a different environment when you're in a life and death situation. I totally get it. But that's why I would take the opinion of a fellow soldier who has been in those life and death situations. Is it normal? And if they say that's not normal, even in a life and death situation, he would not behave like this. And obviously he has survived this because he's not dead. That's why these soldiers are telling you this.
Great work. We were actively seeking bad people and we wanted to stop the things that they were doing. There was collateral damage with that, and there were certainly things that we stepped over a line.
What was described to me in some circumstances is that there was a killing for sport mentality.
The responsibility now falls to the top brass of our Defence Force to fix the mess. On Thursday, Chief of Army Rick Burr confronted SAS soldiers at their barracks in Perth and said some soldiers would be stripped of their honours and others reassigned. Lieutenant General Burr now has an almighty job ahead of him.
General Burr, how does it feel to know that some of your men have shamed the military and shamed the nation?
This is very tough for many, many people. The news that we heard from the Inspector General's report was truly shocking. And as the Chief of the Army, I'm determined to hold ourselves to account, to lead through this and build a culture in our Army and win back the trust of the Australian people that we know that we deserve.
Around 25 men involved in allegedly up to 39 murders of Afghan prisoners and civilians.
A key point here, guys, this is not an attack on Australian Defence Forces. 39,000 Aussie soldiers served in Afghanistan over the 20-year period or something, however long we were there for. Out of that, is it 29 or 25 soldiers are involved in some sort of a war crime. That's less than 0.001%. This is why these professionals like this general, he knows how the Australian Army behaves. And if they believe that what happened in Afghanistan at the hands of Ben Roberts-Smith, then I'm going to put my faith in them, okay?
One of the worst scandals in military history. How can the Australian public be assured this is just a few bad eggs?
I'm here at the SAS Regiment. I was here with the regiment for the release of those findings. It was a very sombre occasion as I delivered the news to them personally and made the very decisive action of removing 2 SAS Squadron from the order of battle, both as a practical but also very real statement of how serious this is.
You talk about accountability. In 2008, you were a very high-ranking officer in Afghanistan. Did you hear any whispers from partner forces, from Afghans on the ground, from anyone under or in your command of war crimes?
I heard nothing of these allegations. If I had have, I absolutely would have reported them. This is shocking now that as we look back over our history, many commanders at many levels are asking, how did this happen?
I had a beer last night with SAS medic Dusty Miller. He served his country once bravely in Afghanistan, served it again by speaking up and out about alleged war crimes. He's landed in a psych ward more than once. What do you say to the whistleblowers, the men like Dusty Miller who've risked all to speak up?
I thank Dusty, and I thank all like Dusty who have come forward. It's taken tremendous courage to do that. I know there is a lot of hurt and a lot of pain that has been endured by many for a long period of time. Their contribution to the inquiry has helped us get to here.
5 years ago, to find out what really happened in Afghanistan, the Defence Force set up a special inquiry headed by Major General Paul Brereton. It compelled those suspected of war crimes and those who'd witnessed wrongdoing to reveal everything they knew. But Ben Roberts-Smith took the law into his own hands by concealing evidence and burying it in his backyard.
This inquiry needed the utmost transparency and accountability in the way it conducted its operations, and that includes receiving all available evidence. The idea that some information could be hidden from the inquiry by someone is absolutely horrifying.
Former Supreme Court Judge Anthony Wheely QC has never, in all his time on the bench, heard of someone burying evidence in a child's lunchbox.
The ultimate offence is attempting to pervert the course of justice. That's very serious.
I'm not an expert on this, so I actually don't know how much I'm allowed to say. So I'm not going to talk about the actual allegations, or I'm going to try to examine or litigate that right here on my channel. My point here is very simple. Ben Roberts-Smith has denied the allegations of unlawful murder of Afghan civilians, but his own fellow soldiers, the Australian Defence Force's own investigation, thinks otherwise. And Ben Roberts-Smith filed a lawsuit against the Australian journalist who brought this to our attention. And Ben Roberts-Smith lost that case because that was a civil lawsuit. But that was a monumental mistake on the part of Ben Roberts-Smith. So he lost that case, and that became the basis for the current case. Now, this is a criminal case. Look, if he's innocent, I wish him best of luck. But I still believe in our systems, in our processes. Yes, we do have very woke judges, but this is going to be heard by a jury. I reckon this case should be televised. I think we need to do it how America does it, so the whole world can see this. So in my opinion, I think it's a fair case. And I know everyone from my side of the political spectrum, everyone is supporting Ben Roberts-Smith. I can't do that. If he committed these crimes, then he's answerable to those crimes. If your argument is that we shouldn't treat our soldiers like this, then what do you mean? Where does it stop? Should we forgive everyone? Okay, fine. If you go to a foreign country, we are dealing with rough people like the Taliban, like the IRGC. Does that give us a license to just start killing everyone willy-nilly? If that's the agreed upon position, then sure, I'll accept it. But that is not what we claim to be. We claim to be a nation of law and order. We follow the law even during wartime. So let me just show you what Pauline Hanson has to say. I think I'm the only one who is on the other side with this.
Let's go to One Nation leader Pauline Hanson now, who joins me in Brisbane. Pauline, thanks for joining us again. I've noted your comments about Ben Roberts-Smith. You made a statement yesterday. Tell me why you are so keen to support him publicly when we're yet to see what plays out in a criminal trial.
Exactly.
To me, Ben Roberts-Smith is a highly decorated war hero, and he will always be that highly decorated war hero to me. I think it's disgusting.
Even if he killed some people unlawfully? Pauline, you shouldn't say that, though.
The way he was arrested on the tarmac or taken off the plane in that way. It was filmed, released to the media. His twin daughters were hysterical on the plane. He said to the police, anytime, if you need me to come in, I will come in. He was cooperative with them. And this has been 17 years, as you said, Chris, 17 years, a cost of $300 million. And, you know, we don't look after our veterans. And that's been very evident. And I've dealt with it over the years that I've been in politics. We leave them in situations where they come back with PTSD. They have health issues, they have, you know, psychological issues, and yet we've spent $300 million to pursue this man. I think it's disgusting the way it's been handled, and I just feel it's a witch hunt. Sorry.
Paul.
These are two different things, Pauline. Yeah, we should look after our veterans. We should not just dump them after they have served their country. But that doesn't mean that we should not charge war criminals. If he has committed war crimes, and he may not lose this criminal case, because doing something and being found guilty and convicted are two different things. So let's see how that comes out. But I'm not going to support someone who may have committed war crimes. But as I said at the start, I am of the view that we shouldn't be proactively charging our police officers and soldiers if there is a death. But as I said, I can't really play the whole. I'll include the links in the description for all the documentaries that have been made over the years on this case. I can't play them now because the issue is sub judice. I don't know. Maybe I am allowed to play it, but I don't want to run the risk. But you can go and watch it for yourself, how his own subordinates, his fellow soldiers, have given evidence against him. And if his own fellow soldiers are finding out that something is not right, then maybe something isn't right. Those soldiers are not ordinary civilians like you and me, who could be like, oh, no, this is wrong. I don't want to see blood. No, it's not like that. Those soldiers are also trained soldiers. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm just not going to throw my support behind a potential war criminal because these videos are not going to age well. But something tells me that the echo chamber that we live in, even if he's found guilty and convicted and jailed for life or whatever jail term is, some of these people are still going to support him and they're going to invent a conspiracy theory. I really hope they don't do that.